straight from the heart of East Tennessee. This is 10 News at 5.
Staying connected, more Americans than ever own a smartphone or a tablet. We're going to break down the latest numbers and explain what it means for news. Welcome back to 10 News at 5, everyone. I'm Beth Haynes. Half of all U.S. adults now have internet access on the go, whether it's through a smartphone or a tablet. And that's according to a new survey by the folks at the Pew Research Center. Nearly a quarter own a tablet. That's about twice as many as last year. For smartphones, it's even higher at 44%, with more mobile devices in people's hands. It also is impacting how people consume news. Among smartphone and tablet owners, 66% say they get their news on their device. Well, for more insight on those trends, these trends that we're seeing and how it's impacting news consumption, we're joined now by Dan Thompson of Claris Networks and Shane Ryan of Ackerman PR. Really appreciate you guys being with us today. Makes the Monday worthwhile for sure. But let's talk about this growing trend. More and more people owning tablets and smartphones. Why is that? Is it just the hip new thing?
It definitely is. It definitely is. So the market is certainly going towards smartphones, and tablets are all the new buzz these days. So not a surprise to me at all that is the current statistics, and that people, that's where they're going for their news.
And they're going to continue to increase the statistics.
Certainly, and it's changed because of the ease of access of information that these devices give you. You know, smartphones have grown at a rate equal only to television as far as household adoption. So faster than radio, computers, any other thing other than TV, smartphones have been adopted into the houses. It makes getting that information and entertainment you want that much faster and easier.
One of the items in this report talked about owners using their devices for news at least weekly, and not just scanning the headlines, actually clicking on the story and reading the information.
Yeah, I mean, typically when I have my smartphone and I'm consuming media, whatever it be, I typically have a little bit more time on my hands. I'm either waiting in a lobby or whatever, and so I have time to sit there and read through a longer article that I may not do just on the fly, or, you know, if you're walking through a grocery store and you see the headline on a newspaper, you may scan the first couple of lines and then look it up online later.
We talked about this just a moment ago, but that so many options, so many choices for news. How does this change the way news organizations like our station deliver information to viewers, to readers?
If I was a news director right now, I'd be seriously looking at, 3-4 years down the road what this means for you. And that's multiple generations down the road, really, at this point. But I think what we're going to look at is how we're going to segment the audiences even further, so that you may have, and you will have, a 10 News newscast on the air, broadcast everybody's houses, but you will end up with a separate version of that that is made just for people who are looking at their tablets, so it has more in-depth opportunities to go tracking web links and interviews a little further in, so that you'll be customizing news, I think, essentially through these devices.
And catering the tablets and catering to tablets and smartphones. Now, this research also shows people are not embracing some features on their mobile devices, although they can access the information anywhere. A lot of people are checking it from home. Why is it when it comes to the mobile devices? Are they just not as user-friendly?
You know, it seems to me I use mine typically more at home because that's when I've got the most free time. Sometimes I'll check it at work if it's, if I'm waiting on a meeting to start or a meeting just wrapped up or whatever. But typically I find myself with the most free time when I'm at home. So I don't make just a whole lot of that stat, but I find that, it's easier for me to get connected when I'm at home, and I tend to be, I have more idle time available to me when I'm at home.
Do you find, too, also that maybe that it's people are still learning how and when to use this technology as much as anything?
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, there's the whole etiquette question as well.
Well, and some things, like you said, are easier on the tablet than they are on your smaller, smartphone. Yeah. Let's talk about paying for content. That's being hesitant to pay for that has been the trend. Will that ever change?
I think you'll see some of it change. I think that you already see with some of these heavy users, they are more willing to pay for content, but again, it's content that is specific to their needs. It's going to be, you may have people pay for a Channel 10 tech news feed more than just a Channel 10 news feed. So it's about segmentation and looking at what your audience needs and wants. They're willing to pay that money for an app or a program for the very specific thing they want rather than the general.
It seems to be a generational thing, too. That study that you were referencing also shows that the younger generation, so a generation behind me, is more willing to pay for content than, say, my generation would be. I would personally never consider paying for a news outlet, but people who, are in their early 20s may very well find that to be normal.
That leads us into print subscription. Fewer people are switching their print subscriptions. for digital ones. Is that just a generational thing too?
Partly it's generational, but I think partly again it's how they're using it. They're not using what we see in that data is they're not using digital to replace the traditional. They're using digital to enhance the original. So keeping their print subscription, but their thought process is that digital should actually expand on what I'm getting.
Yeah, and that's how I use it.
Lastly, over the last year, we've seen more than 67,000 new downloads of our WBIR mobile app. Still, the research shows on tablets, people prefer the browser over the news app. Why is that?
Typically on your phones and the app, specifically the WBIR app, you're getting a small snippet of what would typically be on the web page. So just the information that I was looking for, nothing else. With a tablet browser, you get to see the full web page and you get the full experience. Me personally, I like it better on the tablet because I get the full experience. I see sub ads and other articles that may have caught my attention that I'm interested in. You just don't get that full experience on the phone. All
right, and we are out of time, but great to see both of you, Dan and Shane. Thanks for coming on. And stay with us. We're coming right back after this break.